I'll just jump into the screen sharing. You guys don't need to look at my ugly mug. So yeah, like Coach said, first of all, I want to start by thanking you guys for logging on and listening to me and taking time to get better during a pretty crazy time. Um, Shows a lot that you guys either have nothing else to do or you guys take yourselves very seriously, which I can appreciate. And hopefully you guys get something out of this. Before I jump into anything, feel free to reach out to me about anything you guys want to talk about. I'm an offensive lineman by trade. I've been coaching here at Drake now for about five or 6 years. If there's anything you want to talk ball or if you want to come by when we're all at isolation, love to chat with you guys and talk ball anytime about anything. So again, I'm Mike McClanathan, working here at Drake University in the offensive line coach, run game coordinator. That's my Twitter. That's my cell. You guys will be able to reach back out if you need to get that. Today's agenda, we're going to talk a lot of inside zone and why that's a staple of our offense here at Drake and why I'm a big believer in it as an O-line coach, but also as someone who wants to grow into a coordinator and who's responsible for planning and developing a run game week to week.
Mike, make sure
yes,
make sure the screen's shared. I don't think you clicked it.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, you're good. I'll let you know.
There you go. Thanks.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm a bad millennial. I don't know how to do things. All right, you guys got it now?
Yeah, if you want to just backtrack so they can see your contact stuff.
Yep. So here's my contact info, guys. Again, here's my Twitter handle. Here's my cell. Some of you guys have already followed me on Twitter. Reach out to me anytime you want to talk ball or anything. And Coach G also has my contact info as well. Okay, so the agenda for today, inside zone as a staple of our offense and why we've chosen that and why I'm a big believer in that. We'll kind of dive into some of the development and the drill work and why we do things the single blocks the way we do it, basically the man-on blocks. We'll get into some double teams, some drills, some execution, some game film of all that stuff. And then we'll dive into some game planning as far as what I'm looking for, how do I want to run inside zone, why do I want to run it in certain ways, and then how do we protect inside zone to keep it alive, but then more importantly to help create big plays and not just, 4 yards in cloud of dust is great, but how do we create some of those chunk plays and big plays that we all know can help win football games in insignificant ways. So first of all, when we're talking inside zone, I'm talking about an aiming point of basically the inside leg of the play side guard. So it's a downhill running play. Everybody's kind of got their own definitions of inside zone, mid zone, wide zone, outside zone. That is whatever you want it to be. Frankly, inside zone for us, the back is aiming at the front side A gap, and he's looking to hit the front side A gap back. It doesn't mean he always cuts it back, but that's where we want to press the defense. That's the point of attack for us. The goal is to get vertical movement on our double teams. I want to create as much double teams as I can. That is an advantage for us as an offensive line, as long as we have good angles. And then when our single blocks, we want to wall or wash. Those are two key terms that are going to come up quite a bit when we do discuss from a scheme perspective of inside zone. On the front side, we want to create a wall. And on the back side, if you have a single block, you want to create wash. So it's not always about vertical displacement on inside zone. It is if we have a double team, but I don't expect my guys to take somebody on an angle and drive them 5 yards downfield one-on-one. What I do expect them to do is create a lot of lateral displacement or not allow the defender to cross his face and win inside. So everything is broken down into full zone versus open zone rules. My zone is my nose to the nose of the man play side of me. If I have a full zone, I'm always going to block that man. There is no exception to that. If I have an open zone, my goal is to set the double team and get vertical movement. So basically, I'm going to set my double team based on whatever the center calls the point man to be, and then I want to be the key piece of the double team. Before we dive into some of the technical stuff, from a philosophical standpoint, why is inside zone the biggest piece of our offense? A lot of people make a lot of things a piece of their offense. So the reason why I choose this is, number one, it's physical. We're going to get off the ball hard. I want to be a physical force. I tell the O-line that you're the enforcers of the offense. You're the bad guys. You need to be cracking skulls on every play, and this is a play built to do that. It's simple. If all else fails, you can just jump. You can step to your zone and block the man that comes to you. there is a built-in level of variability to this play. So a lot of times these two are counterintuitive. You wouldn't think that simple and variable go together necessarily, but in the case of I think zone football, specifically inside zone football, I think they do very well. You can change and dress up inside zone a million different ways and still call it zone, and your O-line can still lean on their fundamentals and can be very physical and do those things from that are based in simplicity. And then play action. The play action off of this stuff is great. I think it helps feed your boot game. There's some specific play action protections that we'll hopefully be able to dive into here if we have time, and kind of helps us understand kind of the game planning situation that I'll get into a little bit later. And it's non-dependent on personnel, and that's a little bit of a misnomer because we're all slaves to our own personnel. But meaning that if I have 6 tight ends August 1, and then on August 30th, I have 0 tight ends, I can still run inside zone. Whereas if I was strictly a power and pin and pull team, it might be more difficult for me to try to find a way to make that work. Certainly can be creative. But I can run zone out of 10, 20, 21, 12. It doesn't really matter. And then I can also run it against any front. Some fronts are easier than others. Some fronts require different gaps and different things. But you can do it against anything. Okay, so really the first thing that we're going to talk about from a technique perspective is the front side of the play. Again, when we have a single block on the front side, we want to create a wall. We want to wall off the defender so he cannot squeeze a point of attack. So this is just a 2-step cover drill that we jump into pretty much every day. You're going to see a lot of these drills, by the way, done without pads on, just helmets or even full padded. And a lot of them are going to be the same no matter what dress we're in. Repetition is king. You have to be great. Offensive line play is the devil is in the details. If you can't get a 6-inch step right or a 1-inch step too far, or not far enough, you can be in a lot of trouble. So again, when we talk about aiming point for this, for a single block on the front side, we want eyes in the near V of the neck. Okay. We want our strike hand, which is always our backside hand on a zone play in the strike zone, which is the center mass of the body, basically from armpit to hip bone. Armpit to hip bone is where we want to land this hand. So you're going to see some good and some bad examples. Our first step is our cover step. Our second step is our drive step. We want to strike around the same time as our second step. I don't teach, you have to have a second step in the ground first, or you have to have a hand in first. I think that in reality, this game happens too fast in the trenches for me to be such a stickler for such things. But I want them striking around the same time. Placement and speed and power are more important than that split timing. So again, you can see here, one thing I teach is you want to pee on the knee with your hips, on the near knee. So basically, if you drew a line down the middle of the man, you would see here the left guard, Dustin, is too wide on his aim point. He's nose to nose. Jacob here is eyes in the near V. He's peeing on the knee. Dustin's too wide. He's basically peeing right down through here on his man. So this is a 2-step cover drill. You can do it every day. That doesn't really require a coach to be there necessarily either. So you can see here the difference between our left tackle and our left guard. Our left tackle is going to open his hips too wide and essentially chase an aiming point that's too far outside. Looks like he's running a wide zone track. Whereas the left guard is peeing on the knee, cover step, drive step, vertical, strike hand in the strike zone. He's able to get lots of great displacement. He creates a wall, but then he also creates displacement as well. He's got both wall and wash. Okay, whereas the left tackle doesn't create a wall, allows his linebacker to climb back into the play. And now, it's a 2-yard gain. Should have been a much bigger gain. Okay, you can see here again some younger guys doing this drill. Again, most common issue that I see on the front side of inside zone when you're doing it this way is this. Hips open too wide. You see he's being all the way out here on the far shoulder. He's even a little bit too wide, but not quite as bad. And then the second issue would be guys not gaining ground vertically on their second step. So what it boils down to really is you overreach with your first step, so you compensate with your second step, and your hips turn too wide. You see this is a nice job getting his hand in the strike zone here. I really like that. But again, you can see how wide his hips are open. This is a much better job. So easily corrected. I'd like to see maybe his hand be a little bit higher. This is like the femur. You can't really control a man with the femur. You can control a man in center mass, right? You think about where you can move a defender in reality is going to be right in his rib cage. If you can strike a hand in the rib cage, armpit to hip bone, you will move a defender and you will control his center mass. Again, these things are pretty straightforward. Not going to blow you away with the drills. My drill philosophy is going to be based in simplicity. I want it to be simple, real, and translate on game day. So I don't want to do anything necessarily on air because everything we're doing from a landmark perspective is based on a defender. So I need to have a defender out there to do that. If we don't have a defender, then we don't have a real landmark, and then you're just creating bad robotic habits.
Coach, you got a question here. What's the aiming point for the back?
The back's aiming point is the inside leg of the play side guard. So we want him to be aiming downhill, but still slightly play side to create some flow by linebackers. We've gone back and forth between, as a discussion of staff, tightening it up or not to be able to hit more vertical cutback. But we like being able to kind of hit the front side A gap as well when it presents itself. But yeah, that's our aiming point. So now on the backside, we change it up our aiming point a little bit because again, we want to focus more on wash on the backside than we do creating a wall. So all that means is basically your hat placement is going to go from the near V to down the middle. We are a zone team primarily, so teaching two different aiming points for the O-line, front side and backside, I don't feel like is overload because, again, split zone alone last year took up 30% of our offense. So total. So I don't feel like diving into some details like that is overkill. Some guys might, and depending on the age group and your group of guys that you have, that might be the case. But again, you can see here, Andrew Grout here on the right is doing a nice job. Again, the principles are the same. Drive to P, now down the middle. Okay, left hand is his strike hand, it's his backside hand. We want the play side hand in the chest. Now we want his nose to nose contact. First step cover, second step drive, vertical, strike with the strike hand.
Coach, a question was asked. Are they peeing on the leg, on the inside leg or the outside leg of the D lineman?
On the front side, they want to pee on the near knee. So near knee, near V is kind of what we say. And then on the back side, you want to pee down straight down the middle. That's going to help create a little bit more of, along with the back's aiming point, a little bit more of a threat laterally for that D lineman. You also have backside help, almost always. So again, you can see this is a really nice job by Jacob Bacon here on the right. Drive to cover, nose to nose, strike hand in the strike zone, left hand in the chest, peeing down the middle because he's on the backside. Second step is getting vertical gain and ground. Dustin Anthony again on the left here in the blue shirt, doing a really nice job as well. 1, 2, driving vertical. Okay, I'd like to see his elbow tucked in a little bit more, but he's stopping on contact and not striking through. Okay, again, you can see if you look here on the difference between a front side block and a backside block is what I'm going to highlight here on this play. So you look here, this is the front side of the play, and this is the backside. So you look at Dustin Anthony, he's the right guard here. He is making contact on the near V. He is trying to pee on the near knee. Jacob Bacon here is doing a nice job getting feet in the ground. Again, near V, near knee. Now you can look at the difference between where the left guard lands on the backside. He's more straight down the middle. All right, I don't love his base. His hand placement is really what's probably killing him the most here. You can see his hands are outside the strike zone. Again here, so we're going to run an inside zone to the left here. So you can see this will be the front side here. So again, as a front side player, you have 2 solo blocks here. You are going to be working to create a wall. P on the near knee, strike on the near V, strike hand is in the strike zone, hip bone and armpit. See, they're doing a nice job here getting vertical in their second step, creating this wall. I'd like to see the left guard, again, not overreact outside, stay a little tighter. If you are winning by alignment here, this first step does not need to go very far. That is a common mistake that you see a lot of guys make. And then on the backside, you can see here Dustin Anthony, the right guard, is working a more flat angle, trying to get his hat down the middle, crunches over the double team, and then climbs to the point man here. Does a nice job. 77, not quite going where I want him to go. That's a me issue. Okay, so now we're getting into the contact phase. This next drill is second step contact is what we call it. The big focus on this is shin angle and drive, and then a vertical second step as well as the strike hand. So these are 3 things that I'm looking for when we do this drill every time we do it. Again, this is an everyday for us, whether it's the winter, the spring, or the summer, or the fall. We do this or some variation of it every day because it's critical. It's a critical skill. So I want to highlight the difference between this player and this player on this rep. You're going to see here, they're already set to cover. So they've already taken their first step. Their eyes are where they need to be. They're peeing on the near knee. This is a front side solo block. So then you can see one thing to highlight, great shin angle. All right, that's a force vector. Applying force to the ground, those of you that follow Charles Bentley, that's the whole premise of what he does is about how to apply force correctly with the right vectors and the right strength. So you can see the hand is in the right place. Their left hand is loaded. Now, Dustin on the left here steps with his right foot again. That's not what we want. That's a miscue. Okay, what we want is Jacob Bacon on the right, driving with his second step now, getting vertical, timing it with the strike hand and the strike zone. And then transition into a good pound of ground. Here, you can really see this is a nice job of Chris Evans here on the left. Oh, I guess we're not. All right, here we go. All right. Again, great shin angle. Great shin angle. Good hand placement. Great strike in the rib cage. Boom. Drive the ground. Drive and pound the ground. Not terrible by this player here in all black. Starting to lose his aim point a little bit. He's a little bit high. So we'll talk about some drills. We talk about pad level and demeanor and run demeanor and things like that to help build that are pretty simple. So you can see here, I want to highlight the left guard on a second step contact. So drive, first step cover, peeing down the middle, backside block, he's peeing down the middle, eyes down the middle. Second step, he's about to make contact. The 2-eye plays back behind him a little bit. The left hand does a nice job, crunching this block, getting in the strike zone, and then driving it vertical. You can see on the right tackle here, number 78, is having an issue with his feet. This is a really tight technique. He oversteps and corrects and then gets a lot of feet in the ground, so he doesn't have any force into the ground. And then he gets popped in the chest here. But this backside does a nice job getting covered up and driving to the strike zone on a 2-step contact. So I'll highlight the same player here, the left guard. He does an even better job at this point. Does a nice job, step to drive. Okay, he's a little bit underneath himself. That'll happen. Obviously, we want something better. But that second step gets vertical, and he times it up with his strike hand right in the rib cage. He starts to get some better movement. 1, 2, strike. Try to close the elbow down. I want to highlight the center here. So one thing, and we'll get into more odd front stuff here in a little bit when we talk about game planning as far as what type of double teams you're going to see here. But one thing, you see the center, he's really got a tight one shade. He's really got a tight one. So this is basically as true of a one-on-one block as you're going to get on the front side. The center is always a backside player, so he's always fitting down the middle. He does a decent job of getting his hips where they need to be. You can see great shin angle, great hand placement. The second step is trying to drive vertical, but he's always got a great angle with his shins, and he's able to apply force into the ground. As tight as that guy is, getting a second step completely vertical is not necessarily always realistic. But you can see it contacts the ground fast, He's got a great strike hand, and then he gets a lot of help from his left guard here, doing a nice job. Again, you can see the power of getting your hands in that strike zone, hip bone to armpit is something we stress a lot. Then I want to highlight the left tackle here. Left tackle has a head up four, so he's going to sift the B gap. He gets that second step going vertical, and he gets that his strike hand into the strike zone. And while he's got some long feet, he's getting off the ball hard, he's getting vertical. He's got his cleats in the ground, so he's able to take this guy for a ride. Here you can see the center doing a similar block. This one tech is slaying in the A gap. Again, first step cover, peeing down the middle. Second step driving vertical, hand in the strike zone, taking it for a ride, now creating a ton of displacement. That's what we want. Same thing with the left tackle again. First step, sift into the B gap. Second step, cover and drive. Second step, drive vertical. And then left hand in the strike zone, creating a ton of wash. Again, on the backside, we want wash. On the front side, we want a wall. You can see 77, 57 on the right side doing exactly that. Contacting on the near V, peeing on the near knee, creating a wall. Okay, so one thing that a lot of you guys will, I'm sure, have the same issue if you guys are O-line coaches is general pad level and demeanor. So I'm a big believer that pad level, you make the biggest difference in the weight room in the off season. It's really hard to move the needle, I think, in the time frame you have in a fall or a spring as far as to get the ability to play strong and play low. However, you can do things if it's not a strength or a mobility issue specifically to help drill that. We don't have any shoots at Drake. There's nothing wrong with shoots. We just don't have any. Again, we don't get them on the field, so I feel like you can take them away. I don't want guys to play with their eyes low. If that's something you use, props to you. I've never really used, never had them, so that's probably why too. So again, med ball throw. There's 2 steps to this drill. We're working demeanor, we're working shin angle and drive, vertical second step, and we get instant feedback. Okay. So again, on the first prompt, the guy with the med ball is going to step to cover. On the second prompt, he's going to drive his second step vertical. Again, you have to have great balance. This isn't necessarily the most realistic drill as far as no one ever takes or steps this slow. But what it does is it helps teach you have to land with a good shin angle. So you can see how uncomfortable Chris is landing like that because his toe isn't far out enough and he doesn't have a shin angle necessary to help drive. So he has to readjust his weight on that foot to help drive himself vertical. But what I do like is how he does have enough shin angle and he's not raising the ball off the ground very, very far. The reason why we use this med ball is twofold. I want to drag it across the ground on that first step, and then I don't want it to rise until they drive their hips and hands through their aiming point. And then it has instant feedback. Where does that med ball land? Well, it's going to drive in pretty much a straight line out of your hands. So you can see if Chris was on the front side here of this play, he would be too wide. He's on the back. He's the left tackle. He's on the back side. I would say he's pretty good. You can see that his partner here catches it on the front side half. Again, we want it more down the middle if we can, but again, it's pretty good. And then when we follow through with our hands, we want to create torque on everybody. We want elbows to disappear. We want palms to the sky. Tear a towel with your thumbs, however you use that coaching cue is up to you. But again, I don't want long arms. I want a short movement here. The key here, though, focusing on demeanor and shin angle and second step drive. So you can see this is a really good example. You can see I'm walking in the way. This is bad coaching. You can see this is a good job driving, getting vertically. Pops up a little soon for me. But again, everybody's going to be built a little bit differently, so they might have to pop up a little bit earlier. We're not going to solve any mobility issues in the fall necessarily, or at least not very quickly. So we got to be able to do what we can. This one is this drill is meant to basically reinforce hand placement into the strike zone. We call it target practice because you're striking a target over and over and over again. I've moved away to doing this on the field. Now I like to do it in meetings. So I'll tell guys basically as an exit ticket for me, they have to give me 20 hand strikes of inside zone and wide zone before they leave or something like that, or before they can come in, they have to do that with a partner. So most of our guys are early to meetings. I usually don't take up all my meeting time, so we use some of it for this. It's too slow to do, I think, on the field in an hour, 45-minute practice. So again, we want to reinforce hand placement, create muscle memory. Elbows and demeanor are also reinforced and usually done in our meetings at a walkthrough because it is not a full speed drill. So again, you can see they're going to start covered up. They have their first 2 steps in the ground. So they are basically, they're both working a zone to the right here. We'll say your front side player, your back side player, so they get in the right aiming point to reinforce those things. I want to see good demeanor. I want to see tight cores, tight backs. I want to see great shin angles. I want to see toes outside of ankles and knees inside of toes. And then basically every time I clap, they're going to strike. Now you can see what I don't like is all this space here. I want their face to be closed in there. This is after a lift. They're all really smelly right now, but I really do want them to be closed in that space. We say for us in the run game, space is an enemy. We want to eliminate space, and we want to engage the defender as soon as possible. So I don't want them building this habit. And then I would like to see more elbows tightening up, basically a torque motion on the strike. But again, we want to try to get about 15 to 20 of these every day, just like this, because we're going to do this a bunch of other times in our drill work, but this is where they can really focus on that and feel kind of the power of that strike when it lands in the strike zone. One thing to say also about hand strikes, just in general, not just for inside zone, but some guys tend to bring their strike from different parts of their body rather than from the shoulder. So a strike needs to come directly from in line with the shoulder. If they're externally or internally rotating too much, they're going to lose a lot of power and increase their chance of injury. But Charles Bentley has a great piece on basically the strike angle of the arm. I highly recommend you guys YouTube that. I won't get into that too much. The next thing is kind of putting it all together. This is a solo block, front side or back side. We're going to go 2-step drive. Okay, put out stress, feet, hands, BGO, and demeanor. So this is the first time this has come up because this is the first time we're going to do this at a full speed pace, essentially. So again, I want you to take a look at number 77 here on the right. That's this player right here. Okay. So we're going to break it down piece by piece. He's a backside player on inside zone to the left. He's a right guard. So his first step, he should pee down the middle, eyes down the middle. Done. Second step should get vertical. Done. Hand in the strike, backside hand in the strike zone. Done. Hit the armpit. Frontside hand in the pec. Done. Drive, pound the ground. Great shin angle. I love it. Now I want you to put that next to a younger player, number 70 here. Okay, he's under set. All right, so he doesn't drive hard enough off his right foot. Okay, so he's under set. He's in the near V. That's a front side aiming point. We don't want that because now he's going to be able to get squeezed. It's going to be right in the way of the cutback lane on inside zone. You can see his left hand, his elbow's out. It's not in the chest where we want it to be. His right hand doesn't have any room to strike because he's not far enough over. He's getting vertical on his second step, but he ends up on his toes. He's got no surface to strike. He's basically playing with half his mass rather than applying both hands and both feet, both points of pressure into the man and into the ground. Holy cow, that's loud. Okay. We do those drills every day. Again, we do a ball get off circuit right after we warm up to help stress ball get off, where we do these things after we've done them slow in meetings and in walkthrough and drill time before as fast as humanly possible. So now we're going to get into some double team stuff. If you have the open zone, meaning that the space from your nose to the nose of the O-lineman next to you is empty, you are going to double team. You're going to dictate where your double team is going to, whether it's front side or back side. I won't get into too much on the scheme as far as how we dictate those doubles, but on an even front, which is what we mostly see in our league, you're always going to carry on your backside shoulder, meaning that if I'm a right guard and I have a low shade inside of me, and I'm running inside zone to the right, I'm going to carry on my backside shoulder. I'm going to work to a linebacker. So this is where we get this, a lot of this stuff done, and this is where we get most of our best double teams at. We're just going to drill our Crowther strikes. It's an imperfect drill, meaning that it's not necessarily super realistic. You're never going to hit a stationary target like that. But it's about training violence, feet in the ground, and then contact with the top of the shoulder to help create lift, and as well as help train to keep a base. the biggest thing that I have issues with is teaching them patience in this drill. That they don't need to try to drive the sled 1,000 yards in their first strike, that they need to have a great base, get 2 feet in the ground in the strike, and lift the sled and move it. So here you're going to see a lot of guys are going to hop with their first 2 steps and jump because there is no threat. This is a stationary target, and they're trying to show off for their buddies. But some of it's pretty good. So again, when we have an open zone, so in this example here, Jacob Bacon's on the right. He has his open zone to his right. We'd be running an inside zone to the right. I want to step with my right foot first as a timing step. Now, one thing you'll see in a lot of our film is these guys settling in place. One thing we're going to this next year is we're going to start gaining ground. Part of that is because of some of the differences in ways we're going to handle movement. I can dive into that more when we jump into more game film. But the main point is the same as far as I want this knee, this foot, and this elbow, and this shoulder all the time and strike at the same time down half the man. So we say knee him in the crotch and strike and lift and drive. You want near foot, near shoulder contact, and that relationship to the rest of your body the entire time, meaning you want to keep that near foot, near shoulder up the whole time, driving off your back foot, eyes up for your linebacker. So you can see Jacob does a decent job. He kind of hops into this a little bit. But you can see good near foot, near shoulder contact and tries to maintain that. The player on the left here, a little bit more awkward. He probably oversteps things a little bit. But it's overall a pretty good job. Again, you can see a lot of eyes down. The sled's really low to the ground. Both these guys are 6'5" and 6'6", so having a hard time getting down there. But again, it stresses the ability to lift and drive with the shoulder, knee down the crotch, and create near foot, near shoulder contact, and then maintain it. So I want to focus on John Engel here to the left. He does a really nice job. He settles and drives. Look at that shin angle. That's a powerful angle to now create force to knee that defender down the crotch and then to strike with the top of that shoulder. Bang, right? Maintain. I'd like to see him try to maintain that near foot, near shoulder contact in that position up. You can see the player on the right here. He's kind of hopping a little bit rather than – he needs to back up off the pad probably initially anyway, but back up off the pad and then either gain ground and strike and knee him down the crotch, or settle and create a positive shin angle for yourself to be able to drive that knee into the crotch of the defender. This is never a good position to be as an offensive lineman or a football player at all. Heads down is a dangerous thing. Again, this is an imperfect drill. You want to correct it when you see it. And again, you don't want to see this shoulder out like that. That kind of rotation can create a lot of shoulder problems down the line, especially when you go against a live body and not in such a controlled environment. But you can see he is fighting to maintain near foot, near shoulder contact. Both these guys have a great initial strike, so the point of the violence in this play is not lost to them. This is what really does move the needle as far as creating significant movement on double teams. Is often the uncovered player that is the difference maker. You can see both players hopping here. Again, teaching patience. But you can see the player on the right here, Jacob Bacon, does a really nice job of maintaining near foot, near shoulder contact and driving vertical. Okay, so again, we're going to combo 2-step this. Open zone, eye placement, that's something that we're moving away from as far as those responsibilities. If you are going to have players combo this vertically, training their eyes to stay in their zone, I think, is critical. In my experience, basically, when I ask players to maintain their front side zone and drive that vertically, again, that's kind of exceptionally vertically. We're not trying to drift and then bump, and get eyes on a linebacker. It was a lot for them to do, and they ended up living in no man's land. So we went away from some things as far as having them work front side, basically more man oriented than true zone oriented, and that'll be new this year. And then it's also going to stress the closed zone aiming point again. If you have a closed zone in a double team, you're blocking it like you're by yourself. Your closed zone is your closed zone. Your rules are your rules. Your aiming point is your aiming point. All that is the same. It is up to the open zone player to fit the double team and drive vertically and create those angles. But however, if you are in a double team as a closed zone player, you do need to get eyes to the linebacker to come off too.
Coach, got a question for you.
Yep.
Do you have a buzzword or phrase to make them stay patient?
I usually just tell them they're getting happy feet and they know that they're starting to jump around. Also, one thing that I say a lot all the time is get your feet in the ground. So keep them out of the air is a big part of that. It's something that I learned in high school. If you have feet in the ground, it means that they're applying force, and you can't hop if your feet are in the ground. So it's basically having heavier feet. So that was a lot of buzzwords. None of them were all that good. Hopefully you can pull one out there. And if you have a better way to phrase it, I'd love to hear it. That drill, that sled drill is not something we do every day. That is more of an off-season drill or a first day of teaching inside zone drill to kind of emphasize the strike point, the leverage that those players need, because I don't want to build some of those other bad habits that can be created. That's probably more of a result of my shortcomings than it is the players. And it's also time on task. I mean, when you have 20 offensive linemen and you're hitting a two-man sled, you got to think about what else could you be doing with that time. So risk reward, or excuse me, time on task versus reward, things like that. So now combo two-step again. So we want to slow this down to make sure that they're doing it right. Again, you see we can work these combo drills in the off season. This is during the winter this year. So we're going to run an inside zone to the left. All right. Andrew Grout at the left guard position here in the gray hoodie. He's going to be working a front side angle. So he wants to create a wall. P on the near knee, get vertical with the second step, eyes in the near V. Jack has the open zone. He sets the double. They're going to double to Chris here at the linebacker level. So he should settle step, drive vertical to knee him down the crotch, knee the defender down the crotch. Okay? So then this is a two-prompt drill. So again, I'll just clap once. They step. Second step. They continue. Second clap, they continue the play. Right? So boom. What this does is it teaches guys, in my mind, again, slow it down. Understand that each piece exists individually, but they have to coexist as well. You have to have a great shin angle to be able to stop and go like this. It's a very unnatural position to be in. And that should help teach that second step to get vertical in the direction that we want it to. You can see, again, this left guard, he's a freshman here. He's a little bit new. So his angles are kind of jacked up. You see him pigeon toe as he needs to start with a better toe angle to have a better shin angle, to have a better hip angle. So he doesn't have to turn in place and then in order to drive it vertical. He does a nice job of finishing the right direction. Okay, so again, this player has the open zone. We're in inside zone left. He has the closed zone. He's a center, so he's going to be eyes down the middle. He's a little underset. He corrects himself. So again, settle step by the open zone player. Nice job, good shin angle. He is in a position, right, with this shin angle to drive that knee straight through the crotch of that man and then carry it vertical to the linebacker. This is exactly what he does. He's done a very nice job here. And if we were live, I would love to see him have a little bit tighter demeanor, basically push his butt back a little bit more to lower his chest, tighten his back, and strike and lift with this shoulder to pop his head up. I want to see the defender's head snap up in the air when we're going live. This is a really nice job working that angle. A great wide base, great shin angle. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so now we're going to combo this again. We're going to put it all together. Just like you saw with the single blocks, it's a simple progression from steps, two-step, or two prompts, kind of any problem solver drills you need, like the Crowther or the med ball throw. And then we get into kind of put it all together. Again, in this, you want to stress eyes, demeanor, feet. There it is, ball get off again. This is a critical piece to being a physical football team. I cannot stress this enough. And then hand placement as well. Okay, so we're going to work an inside zone left here. We're starting fit in on a combo. All right, so we are living in a perfect situation here that we are set in. Okay, you can see the player in the orange jersey here. I'm not loving his left hand involved in the block. I've been fighting that battle for years. I'm sure a lot of line coaches have. It's something that just takes a ton of correcting. You can see near foot, near shoulder contact. All right. When I say maintaining that, this is what I mean. So look at the player in the orange jersey here. Driving, off of his left foot continuously, trying to continue to knee him in the crotch. You can see the player on the right here has a terrible base. He's a young cat. We'll get him squared away. He's out of control at the end of this play. But again, we're really I'm prioritizing the open zone player in a drill like this. Here's a couple older guys. You can see now we're on an inside zone to the right. Open zone player, settle step, fit in, knee down the crotch, good shin angle to continue to knee down the crotch. Both players have eyes on the linebacker. He leaves. I like to see him leave. I like how he leaves late. He stresses that during the drill. We don't want to come off early. Drives. They transition into a good drive. Okay, again, 50 is the open zone player, knee down the crotch, driving, coming off the linebacker level, finish the drill. And then here we go. We put it all together now. So, again, this is from spring practice this year. You can see how the open zone player on the left is driving vertical with his first step rather than settling, just because I want to initiate faster contact. I want to get off the ball harder, and I want to create more and more vertical movement. But the principles are the same. Knee down the crotch, maintain your shoulder to your foot contact, close zone player, hip to hip, driving vertical. Principles are the same. Again, you can see here, Dustin Anthony on the right doesn't do quite the same job. What I definitely don't want is that foot going backwards. It at least stays the same. I prefer to get going forward again. We are off the ball. This is pretty accurate, so that guys can gain ground so that they can help sort out movements when they need to and get off the ball vertically. But this is what I want. You see how he strikes at the top of his shoulder, and he establishes a near foot, near shoulder relationship, comes off to the linebacker. Look at those moves by Coach Mike, right? And then they finish the drill. Okay, another look at this. Again, first step is vertical. Second step is vertical, knee down the crotch, striking the top of the shoulder, near foot, near shoulder contact, maintain it. Always trying to knee that defender in the crotch and then coming off to the double team when you need to.
Coach, got a question for you.
Yep.
And we got about 5 minutes, but
Okay.
Coach wants to know if this presentation is something that you can get them.
Absolutely. Be more than happy to. Just shoot me a DM and I'll download it on a Google Drive and share it with you guys. I don't have Huddle. We're a DV Sports School. But yeah, the Coach G, I think I'm definitely going to have to do a part 2.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
I didn't do any of the game planning stuff that I got all hyped up with my O-line talk. But yeah, so again, guys, none of these drills are gonna be like mind blowers. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. What we're doing is repeating the fundamentals in a way that helps shift our culture. When I think about creating a culture, it's the same as creating a good offensive line or a good run game or good anything. Is that it's a constant and consistent message over and over and over again, coming from a place where your players or whoever is trying to influence know that they care about you. So if you can do those things, it doesn't matter the way in which you deliver that message. Yeah, they need to reinforce what you want, but you're going to see this stuff, guys, pop up in a ton of our drill or in a ton of our game film here. I'll just jump into a couple plays before Coach G kicks me out and make sure you're there, guys. But you can see, again, from right to left here, Jacob Bacon, 77, winning on the inside V. He's settling both his feet. He says, I got time and space. I don't need to go chasing ghosts. Hand on the chest, peeing on the near knee, eyes in the near V, hand in the strike zone, driving and finishing. All right, get nasty there. Okay. Left guard now, 57, Dustin Anthony. Settle, drive, tries to knee down the crotch. Not a perfect block. That's okay. Z, again, not perfect, but we're getting to our aiming points. Creates a nice split in the defense. We're off to the races against a pretty overloaded box. Okay, second step contact. Zach Clark, 75. Steps to cover. Second step vertical. And in the strike zone, again, too narrow feet. But again, we're getting displacement on the line of scrimmage. Okay, now you're looking at double team drill. So I want you to look at this combo right here. They're going to double here. Excuse me. Up to 49. So first step drifts away from his target a little bit. When you guys are drilling this stuff, if you're going to do it in the way that I presented it, the biggest issue I have is guys drifting away from contact when they have an open zone and creating basically too many steps and too much flow and not enough strike directly off the ball. You can see he kind of recovers, keeps the base, your shoulder near foot, striking knee and down the crotch, comes off the double team, gets a hand in the hip. Chris Evans, the left tackle, first step covers, second step kind of shuffles into it. We used to do that a little bit as a change into our technique. But again, he gets a hand in the strike zone, drives vertical, finishes. Everybody's finishing towards the pile. Next time I come on, if you guys will still be interested in hearing from me, I'll talk more about odd front stuff and kind of more holistic game planning for inside zone. But a big part of it is about how do you game plan to give your guys the best angles. I'm not so much interested in numbers as much as I am angles for the O-line. So if we can create movement and displacement, the defense is gonna misfit it. And then also we can do other things from a tools perspective, like formations, personnel matchups, jet sweep, bubbles, RPOs, things like that, play action pass to help eliminate some of those numbers issues as they arise in the game. But you cannot replace good angles. You have to have those to be able to move the line of scrimmage. And
There's a quick question for you, Coach. Do you ever veer up to the back with your backside tackle, and is there anything you emphasize?
Could you repeat that?
Do you ever veer up to the backer with your backside tackle, and is there anything you emphasize?
Ever veer up? Could you explain to me what that means specifically?
Coach Smith, what do you mean by veer up? Coach, if you unshare your screen, you can see the chat box. Can you see it? If you scroll to the very bottom.
So, I mean, as far as veering up, like as far as just basically man up to the backside linebacker, is that kind of what you mean? If it is, then yeah, we will do that for sure. So, basically, if he's got an open B gap, he's climbing to the backside linebacker immediately. Some of the tape that I showed, we were doing things a little bit different last year. We were all split zone last year. We didn't read anything. So I didn't have to have him kind of mind that as much. Anything played back behind him was going to get beaten by the back block. But his rules, if he has an open B gap specifically, is he's going to climb through, eyes on the linebacker. If that linebacker plays downhill and outside of him, he's going to put his inside foot in the ground and wheel back and keep the give open to basically get a 2-for-1. The biggest thing is being decisive and being fast through the B gap. If you're wrong, I want you to be wrong on their side of the line of scrimmage, not our side of the line of scrimmage, if that makes sense. When we first did it, I got a lot of just standing on the line of scrimmage, kind of staring like a deer in the headlights. But yeah, that was the biggest thing, was making sure that they weren't always expecting a gap exchange, but applying pressure to the defense.
Cool. Hey, y'all make sure you follow Coach on Twitter, man. He's great about getting back, man. He'll answer any questions. We'll for sure get him back on next week. I'll talk to him after this and just pick a day and time that works best for him. But absolutely, tremendous presentation, man. Tons of great information. Before I let him just kind of give his closing remarks, if you guys want, man, it's once again, it's a great opportunity for us to stay connected, man, and learn from each other. So if y'all want to just drop your Twitter handles in the chat, and I'll leave it up for a little bit, and we can kind of follow each other. Once again, at the end of the day, man, we're in this coaching community together. So let's continue to push each other to get better, and for our kids, man, and that's the most important part. We don't want to be stagnant during a time where we don't, we're missing a lot of this action. We're expected to be out there and have spring ball and do this and do that, but clearly, things have kind of impeded that. So let's do our part and learn from each other. And the best way we can do it, the deal, strength in numbers. So we're going to constantly learn from everybody that's willing to teach us, man. And it's because of things like this. So we appreciate Coach coming on. And like I said, Coach, anything you want to let those guys know and get rolling. But
yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to listen to me. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. If any of you want more information, I could talk ball anytime, any day. I've chewed Coach G's ear off talking ball with him many hours. So reach out to me if you want to talk. I got nothing but time. you want to talk inside zone game planning stuff that I'll hopefully be able to get into next time, be more than happy to talk about that. Different drills, different things that you saw. Ask me about, hey, coach, I don't agree with you there. I'd love to hear about it. I want to get better. So let me know. Appreciate your time, coaches.
Thanks, Coach. We'll talk after this about what day works best for you.
Sounds good, man.
And we'll do that.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
I just close out, or how do I?
Stay connected, guys, for real. Let's stay connected. Let's don't be shy to reach out to people, man. Just looking at some of the names in the participants deal, man, there's a ton of great coaches in here. Obviously, I don't know everybody. I'm sure everybody's a great coach, but just from the ones that I'm familiar with, man, there's a ton of great coaches in here. So let's continue to do that, man. We can learn from each other for sure. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna leave this up for just another minute or two if anybody wants to keep adding some of those dudes on Twitter.